and then share. Okay. So can everyone see the screen?
I
All
can see.
All right, I'm going to run through these first couple of slides pretty quickly so we can get into the heart of this. But we always do like to remind everyone on these calls that our purpose here at REI Funding Partners is not to make a loan. It's to help you guys achieve financial freedom and security. And because of that, we want to be more than just a money source for you. We really want to come alongside and be a funding partner. So at our inner circle, really quickly, why we meet, because we know that when business is done right, it shouldn't be hit or miss. If you follow a specific process, you should get specific results, and we want to be here to help identify and help people stay on track with that process. Also, by coming together, we can help each other out in sticking to the process and lessons learned and things like that, so that we can all achieve the success that we envision. And then finally, not only supporting each other on a call or in a Facebook group, but when you build your network, you can find deals, you can get referrals. So I learned years ago that building your network truly is one of the best things that you can do for the success of your business. So that's part of why we come together. This front end piece, just 5 minutes to get us started. We're going to spend about 50 minutes on our our 6 steps to 6-figure profits, and then a wrap up at the end is kind of our main agenda. If anyone is new in the room, in the past, we used to have an introduction time. The content has gotten deep enough that we're inviting people over to our Facebook group to interact there. We'll also be there to interact with you guys, but it's a great place to jump in, to have conversations with this group of people. We filter out like random people from out of the area that don't really do deals in Alabama. They all have to go through an approval process to get in there. So we work hard to put a quality group of people together here to be able to network if you're in Facebook. All right, Parker, tell us. Well, let me set you up for this real quick, Parker. We just kind of jumped onto the screen here, but a few months ago, Parker and Tanner did a presentation to kind of explain a portfolio of rental properties that they have and some things that they learned along the way. And a really good presentation. That one's recorded. We'll show you where to get access to that at the end of this call. But over the past couple of months now, we've been getting updates on how it's been going after that.
Yeah, that's right. And Ray's created a new landing page for this entire Inner Circle group. So if you guys haven't clicked on that and check it out, I highly encourage you to go check it out. All the past monthly meetings are recorded, and that's where they're located. And so if you want to go back and watch what Tanner and I shared, I think that's one of the first ones. And so, yeah, so now again, we're all about accountability. I've learned that the hard way over the last couple of years. And so it's so important to have this group, have a group that you can meet with, whether that be your business partner or just associates or just this group in general. We're going to keep each other accountable because we have to have milestones and accountability to get better and grow. So, since last month, we've officially sold those 2 houses, one in Northport and one in Tuscaloosa. Just kind of brief update, why we did that. They're originally going to be refinances. And so we looked at our portfolio and realized, we need to sell these because we need more cash in our pocket for reserves to float our portfolio. And so we realized we couldn't refinance them. We needed to sell them. So we successfully closed on those. One was like the 3rd week of March, and then one was the last week of March. And so glad to get those off the plate. And so Tanner and I continue, a part of that accountability for me and Tanner specifically was to meet twice a month. One of those meetings was to review our property management reports, more kind of a retroactive, okay, hey, review the reports, make adjustments, see what we need to do. And then that second meeting is more proactive. Okay, hey, what do we need to do to grow? What do we need to do to adjust? And so one of those things is we're selling an additional rental property that's in Tuscaloosa in June. It's currently occupied. We're going to move the tenant out. We've gave them notice to vacate by the end of May. We'll come in. I'm sure there's going to be some minor touch-ups, a couple $1,000s to get it ready to sell and market. So we'll do that. And then me personally, aside, a lot of you may know I have a 6-month-old son, and so I also have a 2-year-old daughter. I did a burr property for my daughter a couple years ago in my neighborhood that I live in. I put it on a 17-year mortgage payoff so that when she gets 18, she'll have a free and clear house as like a purpose fund that she can, sell, refinance, 1031 exchange, go to college, start a business, do something else. So I actually had the opportunity through this network, through REI Funding Partners group of connections. We have a wholesaler, his name's Ken Jackson. He's not in the call tonight, but he's out of Montgomery. Through wholesaling, he locked up a property in my neighborhood again and was like, hey man, I've got a property in Tuscaloosa. I was like, he texted me and I was like, holy crap, this is right in my neighborhood. I was like, please don't share this with anybody. Lock that up. So closed on that mid-March, going through demo. And so doing the same thing, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to have 2 houses in the same neighborhood, one for my son, one for my daughter. So I'm in that project currently. I've actually created a PowerPoint to kind of talk through the process. And so hopefully one of these inner circle calls, I'll be able to share it, but exciting. Again, I just, I like to mess with Tanner. I guess I'm just working harder than Tanner and getting more deals. So I don't know what Tanner's doing. But yeah.
Come on, Ben. Hey, and so if anybody that's on the call tonight is doing buy and hold, the ahas that you're not seeing if you weren't on that call a few months ago, it's worth going back and watching that, because like the first bullet point here about selling these 2 houses, they didn't plan to do that, but because they weren't measuring debt coverage ratio and some other things that they realized along the way and had that aha, really powerful lesson learned. Parker, Tanner, that guided you guys to make some decisions about looking ahead of what to do to help the portfolio, but then also your future decisions. So there's this, if anybody's doing buy and hold, these updates and then the things that were discussed on that call would be really powerful to take a look at.
And Ray, you have the link at the end of this presentation, right?
Yeah, it's at the end of this, and I think we will continue to send that link out to people to join. That through that landing page, you can see everything about the inner circle.
Everything. Yeah.
All the last calls. Awesome. Thanks for the update, guys. We look forward to seeing how that goes as the months go ahead. Tremendous progress so far.
Yeah, we might have to do a borrower spotlight on Parker.
Hey, Jason, man, go ahead.
Hey, quick question, and Parker, I don't know if you can share this or not, but just curious, because I love the buy and hold model, like right now with the economy and what rates are doing, and all we do know, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen, but what's the motive behind selling the rental you have in June as opposed to holding it?
It is really just solely, so I personally have lent my own personal money to our LLC to do deals, and I over leveraged myself to the company. I need that money back to do other whatever projects in my life, and so yeah, I purely solely I'm over leveraged and I need some cash back in my pocket.
Understood. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Would not be selling it unless it was if I didn't need the money. Yeah.
All right. Well, as you know, the theme we've been on for a couple of months now is this 6 steps to 6 figures. And I think we've got some people on here for the first time tonight. So a quick kind of background with that. Both Julie and I come from a background of business coaching, and she's been in real estate investing for a long time. I have too. We've learned a lot of lessons firsthand ourselves, but we've also learned a lot from funding deals. So we funded at REI Funding Partners, we funded hundreds of deals for other people. So we've seen things that go wrong in other people's deals as well. So we sat down and we said, what are the biggest holdbacks to people really flourishing at this and making the income that they want to make? And we found out that, well, they weren't really staying consistent on finding deals to purchase. They'd get a few deals done and then they'd get busy rehabbing and they'd forget to do any marketing. And then their properties would hit the market to sell. And they're now all of a sudden scrambling around trying to find a new deal instead of keeping things in flow. We realized that very often people were going overtime and over budget on their rehabs. They weren't looking at the numbers to see how profitable they were being or if they were making a profit. They weren't planning ahead to make sure that they're having a house cash out each month so that they could have a consistent payday. So we looked at all those common factors and put together tools. Most of these tools we really already had. It was just pulling them together to make a system for you guys to really lock in on a good, consistent 6-figure income. So that's the background of this. So our one bullet point here that we start this screen with says you must have a system and a plan to hit 6 figures. You can occasionally make a good income at random, but to make it consistently and be comfortable with it, you got to have a system and a plan. It takes a team. So when you start making this kind of income, it's probably not going to happen by yourself. So you're going to need some key players, not necessarily employees, but it could be some of those investor-friendly agents. I know we got Mike on here. They're part of a team of key players, and so that's not an employee, but it's a key team member. And then to make these profits that you want, you really have to be the CEO of your real estate investing business. And so taking care of the business side and not just out there being the contractor. There's nothing wrong with being a contractor, but when you do that at the expense of taking care of the business side of things, you hit into your profits, you hit into your consistency. So that's kind of the key points of what we want to look at there to hit the 6 figure. So we talked about step 1 last month, which is to have your 6-figure marketing plan in place to make sure you're getting all the deals that you need. Step 2, we're going to talk about hitting your target profits on each deal using the max offer generator tool. So again, to do that, you've got to be getting deals in to look at to be able to plug the numbers in. So this fits hand in glove with the 6-figure marketing plan that we went over last month. Get the deals, plug each one of them into this offer generator to make sure that it's going to have the profits that you want. So what this tool is going to help you do is to know your target profit per deal to what you should expect. And that's going to come straight off your marketing plan as well. And then you're going to be able to make sure that you're not offering so much on these deals that you can't hit your target profit amount. And then the bottom line there, making sure you don't overpay on the deal. It's so easy to do in the market that we came out of. It's still kind of a temptation sometimes in the market that we're in when you want to get that next deal. Sometimes we can do some things to help you get a better deal as well. We can talk more about that later, but part of our process, we've seen it before, people be able to go back and negotiate a lower amount because of the underwriting that they do with us. All right. Let me swap us over to a different screen share. And we'll get the offer generator tool pulled up. This is in Excel. If you don't like Excel, don't worry, because all you have to do is key in a few numbers. All the hard work is done for you with the calculations in here. And I know many of you guys may have seen other spreadsheets out there. What we like about this one is it is very simple. It's not multiple columns. You're not trying to figure out, projections 5 years in the future. I've seen a lot of people show me, deals like this with tons of bells and whistles, but at the end of the day, they don't use those calculators because they're so complex and you got to have so many things to plug into them. This one is basic but powerful. It gets what you need in there to know if the deal is good or not, and what you need to pay for it at the end of the day. So the color code on here is pretty important. The green cells are what you would fill in, and then the pink cells are the ones that have formulas in them that you don't want to touch. You just want to look at the numbers in there. I'm going to talk through this one, and then the main thing to know is at the bottom, it's going to tell you what's the maximum amount that you should be paying for this property if you want to make the profit that you have in mind. And again, so many people, especially if you're a little bit newer at this, or if you've never been taught the business side of it, you get kind of a gut feel for what you should pay for it, but maybe not dialing in the numbers, or maybe you get in so much of a hurry that you have this, maybe some other really long, complicated way to calculate it. And in the quickness of getting your deal done, you just don't go plug in the numbers. So again, this one is fast and efficient.
Well, and the key is too, we kind of talked through, just so y'all have heard it, is if you go down there to the bottom at the pink and it's not what you thought it would be, you can always, adjust the green, right? So adjust any of the numbers that you fill in yourself will then tabulate the pink numbers for you until you get where you want to go. In other words, if you're like, I only want to spend $80,000 for this property, then you'd want to go up and figure out if you could reduce your rehab costs, if you would lower your profit that you want, any of that like that, you can make the adjustments once you fill in your initial numbers. That's what I love about it. It's very flexible to play with.
Yes, and you saying that, Julia, brought up an important point. You want to use this before you firm up your offer. This is when you're looking at the deal, you're trying to get a good feel for what to pay for it. You may have a number in mind, and this is going to help you just fine tune that number. So again, it's about the green boxes as far as what you will fill in. So you're going to fill in, what do you think you're going to list the property for on the top? And what might you have to discount it for? We just came out of a season where there were no discounts. There were bidding wars up. We're a little bit back to the situation where you might list it here and sell it for a little bit less. So that sells in there. If you think what you list it for is what it's going to sell for, you can just easily put 0 there.
And Ray, real quick, this is automatically assuming that you're good at determining your ARV. That's a huge part to this. Having good comps and understanding what the remodels are in the neighborhood that you're looking to do this project, because that's obviously it's your first number you're plugging in. So make sure you know your ARV, and I know there's a lot of experienced people on this call, but again, if you are still struggling to figure that out, just reach out to us, me, Julia, we can help you. And then there's other people on this call that are happy to help you too. So that's an important number though.
Great point, Parker. Yeah, it all starts with that, what we can sell it for at the end. Really, really, really important as well is this profit number here. So very often people will have the profit down at the very bottom, and they run all their other calculations, and then they see, if there's anything left for them to make. On this one, we have that profit number, up near the top, you're in the top section on the calculator sheet, so that it really puts you in the driver's seat to say, here's what I want to make minimum. If you were on the call last month, then you saw how to take a look at what you need to make per month. And it really helps you dial in what your minimum profit requirement, would be. So yours may be higher or lower than this. We're just doing this one for an example. But in this case, you don't change the pink ones. You would change that by changing your percent profit margin. So this is the percent of the sales price. So if you were happy with, in the 20,000 something range, 28, 29, you could change that to 15%. And you see your, profit margin drop a little bit. If you want to make more, you can, but that 15 to 20% range is a good range to fall in. If you're trying to make more than 20%, just know chances are you may be pushing the limits too much. And that might push you to try to buy it so cheap that you don't get the deal. So that's why we have that, just kind of some guidelines there. They're not hard and fast, but they are guidelines to help you stay in reasonable numbers. Then you're going to plug in what you think the property is worth today before any renovations are done. And then the all-in percentage, I'm going to change this cell to pink. It's going to calculate for you. That's a really important number. And I know Parker's been going over that with some of our newer people. If you've not, quoted a bunch of deals before or looked at a bunch of deals, knowing how much you're into the deal for is a really good rule of thumb when you add what you're buying it for plus your rehab cost. So that's just compared to your sales price, is that number. And again, that one is actually going to calculate for you guys. That kind of leads you up to your loan amount that will include the rehab cost. We've got that one dialed in at the moment on this estimate page here for 65% of the after repaired value. So there's the top section. Any questions on those numbers, what they mean or anything? All right, pretty straightforward. Let's see. Let me check real quick. I got a little feedback going.
Yeah, I think it might be Sandra. Sandra, do you mind muting?
All right. Then on our next section here. So what are you going to pay on this thing prior to closing? In some cases, you might have your own internal marketing expenses. You may use the bird dog approach where you've got someone else out looking for leads for you to follow up on. But a lot of people, don't pay anything for that. So we got a zero in there right there, but it's there in case you need it. Points on the loan would be a prior, at closing cost. With us, that changes a little bit based on what your loan amount is. In this case, we got 4 plugged in, and then your closing cost is an estimate for what your title company charges would be. So again, you're just filling in the green cells there. Here's another biggie, your repair budget. So what, was it going to cost you to get everything fixed up inside and out, and having it ready to go? We help out with that as well. If you're a little bit newer on your rehab budgets, I know Parker and I were looking at one earlier today, and there wasn't anything in that whole rehab budget for the exterior of the property, and there were some things that needed to be done. So, we gave some feedback on that to help make sure that they were accounting for doing the work on the exterior. So Parker's always going to take a look at that rehab budget with a fine-tooth comb and offer feedback on that. Now, your holding section, that's the biggest section on the sheet here, other than the top section. How many months is it going to take you from the date you purchase it until the time that you can resell it? We do 9-month loans now, because we were seeing people go over 6 months fairly often on their rehabs. But some people, if you're doing a lighter one, you might be able to get in and out for 5 months or less. So we plugged 5 months in for this sample deal here. But as you get more and more of these under your belt, we've got another tab that we're going to show you in a few moments. That's your results tab. So you see on here, everything is estimate. We're going to give you a chance to, with each deal, to come back in and plug in your actual numbers after your estimate. So you'll begin to see, does it really take me 4 months on a medium rehab, or 5 or 6? And these estimates will get tighter and tighter as you go. So another benefit of kind of using this tool. So in this case, if we hold it for 5 months, a 12.99 interest rate on the loan. Again, that interest rate will vary depending on the loan size. An estimate on what your utilities and lawn care might be per month. And then over here, you got what your property taxes and insurance would be on an annual basis. And then these cells just divide it down into what that cost would be monthly. If you're dealing with something that's got HOA dues, you would plug that in there. So again, this section, you're just plugging in number of months, interest, your utility cost, taxes and insurance, and if you have HOA, and then that's going to calculate what your holding cost estimate would be. And then what's it going to cost to sell? You've got maybe some seller fees you might have to pay, and then the commissions to list it and sell it. So you've got that. You got some costs totaling up over here. Then we've got at the bottom 2 different numbers. So I wanted to explain those. There's a formula that's been around for a long time in investing circles that says 70% minus repairs gives you a good rule of thumb of what you could offer for the property. Rule of thumb is good, and so we want to include that, but then your maximum offer is important as well. That's going to get a more fine-tuned number there. So we give you 2 to kind of look at, just to make sure it gives you kind of something to do a check and balance against. But again, the more accurate one is going to be the one that is your maximum offer that's calculated by the project costs themselves and not just the rule of thumb number.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ray. I think that's, the 70% rule of thumb is good, but then it's like everybody's going to have their own criteria, right? Like, you may be okay with making $20,000 on a deal. You may want 40. There's other factors. Your short-term money cost might be different. Selling commissions on the realtor side may be different. So this is why getting just a little bit more detailed is super important.
Yep. And in all transparency, guys, this tool, we've had it around for a long, long time. But in adjusting it for this use and then adding the column, we got another tab over here where you can plug in your actual numbers. I've done a lot of adjusting and moving some things around on this, and I've still got a couple of more things that I need to fix on this. So I just saw a number here that doesn't match up just right here. So if anybody's looking and you're like, that number's not just perfect, just know that there's a couple of little tweaks left to do, and then we'll have everything just right. So I'm going to make changes before we publicize this, but overall the tool's going to work the same way that we're showing you here. So when you start looking at a deal and you get your estimates for your rehab costs and your after repaired value and everything, you're going to have a really dialed in number down here at the bottom that's going to let you know what you should offer for that deal if you want to make the profits that we have at the top.
Yeah, and Ray, Ashley posed a question in the chat that's really good. And so she goes, if the purpose of this calculator is to determine if a deal is actually a deal, it seems that this someone should know in advance the caveats of lending, right? Points, loan costs, etc. Are there any generalized numbers to plug in if time's a factor for sourcing a deal? So in other words, when you don't have time to get a full quote, maybe from us or a lender in general, because there might be some other offers that the seller's entertaining. My answer to that would be just taking this, 4 points and 12.99 interest rates, the highest we charge. And so you could just factor that in. And so, right, Ray, would you have any more kind of,
No, yeah, that's perfect. That matches up even with like on your months to hold. If you're in doubt that it might be 4 months or 6 months, better to plug in 6 and then, maybe adjust it later as you get more details about the project, right? Because if you're like on the front end of one and you're just in that estimating phase, you may not have seen the interior of the property yet. You may be trying to lock up a deal with a wholesaler and you don't have all your data yet. So by the time you can inspect the property, if you're working with us, I know Parker, he's always checking to see if there's anything showing up in our pipeline. If anybody's texted him with a question or something, he's always on top of it. So he can tell you pretty quickly if the numbers would be different on the financing side. But usually in most cases, you're going to get that as soon as you really have your other, initial due diligence firmed up on the property. But great question. It is to determine if it's a deal and then how much to pay for it if you want to make your target profit. Perfect. So let me jump over quickly to this second tab here. So again, this tab is on the front end prior to closing when you're looking at what you would be willing to pay for the property. The second tab looks very similar. You're carrying over all your estimates from the first tab. Again, everything that's pink is going to fill in for you. So there's only a few green numbers that you have to fill in. So you got your estimate from page 1. When you finish the deal, you get to come back here and just plug in a few more numbers. So what did you actually buy it for? What did you actually list it for and sell it for? It's going to show you how much your discount was to sell. It's going to show you what your actual all-in percentage was. So you'll begin to get a feel for that number. We want to encourage everyone to get better and better. So those rule of thumbs that you use, your gut feel is going to tell you sooner if you should be into a deal or not. This is going to help you do that. This is going to help sharpen your instincts on the numbers to know when they're good or not. Then you're going to plug in it, if you actually had to pay anything for a lead, your actual points off the settlement statement and closing costs from the settlement statement. And it'll show you what your actual closing expenses were. You plug in what you actually did spend on the rehab budget, and then how many months it actually took on your hold, how much you actually spent on your utilities and lawn care, and if you had any HOAs. And then from the HUD, what did it cost to sell right there? And so when you come to the bottom, you can see what your estimates of the project costs were compared to actual. You can see what you thought you were going to make on your profit compared to what you did. And then what I love about this difference column over here is it'll show you if you had a gain or loss compared on your actual results when you were looking at your estimate there. And then we left space over here for comments because if you're going to get better and better with each deal, you need to know where you did well and then where you didn't do so well. So if you were way off on your construction estimate, you'd want to write down some actions to take to improve that on the next time. If you were off on your months to hold, gives you a place here to make some comments about taking some actions on that. So that estimate could get better. But there's so often, we can get so busy with doing rehabs, whether we're doing them to hold or just doing them to flip, that we don't come back and kind of look at how the numbers worked out. Now with this simple tool where you only have to plug in a handful of numbers here, it makes it really easy for you to come back to the same place where you estimated it to begin with, plug in your actual numbers, and then see how you did. So in this case, you know, again, I'm putting some final touches on all the formulas and everything in here, but for today, you can see what it does, you know, how it works, and really how you can analyze how well you're doing on your projects. Any questions on this page or thoughts about how that might be helpful for you guys to see actual numbers? Let me ask a couple of quick questions then. Are you guys right now tracking how many months it was? So like from your first settlement statement when you bought it to your next settlement statement when you either sold or refinanced it? Anyone doing that?
You can
Anyone
put it
gonna
in the
start doing
chat.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can
refis
put it-
are awesome.
I'm planning
yeah,
to
Ray.
start doing that.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of investors do not do. When we find a deal, we think it's sweet. Sometimes we hold on to it. I can say, for my instance, at 60th Court, I held on that property because I bought it at such a discount. I held on to it for a year. But those are some things when you look at costs and holding and all the utilities that are on, you know, those are some things that really add up that are really unforeseen if you don't really calculate it into the rehab budget. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, you know, it's nice to have an easy to use tool. Because my feel is the easier it is, the more likely you'll be to do it. And I'll talk in a moment about how one of the other tools is going to feed into this as well. But Luis, so you got a question or comment?
Yeah, thanks for having me on today. Just a couple of things real quick, and just a quick, I've been investing for about 4 or 5 years now. I got 4 properties. And look, if you're looking to do this long term, and for me, it's a legacy building for future generations for my family. My first one bought my third, and my second bought my fourth. Right.
Yeah.
So I buy and hold. I don't let them go. Let them appreciate, and then I cash out, refi, and bought the next one, and just keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Now I'm doing
Absolutely.
the strategy in Birmingham and going to start doing the same thing. Section 8. I don't shy away from it. It's easy government cash if you do it right. So just some thoughts to encourage y'all on that.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Yeah, doing it right is key. And you actually said something that's a preview. As soon as we finish up this series on 6 steps to 6-figure for rehabbers, we're going to come back and have some of these tools that are rolled out specifically for people that are doing buy and hold that want to do BRRRR deals. So a lot of these things will translate over, but with a few adjustments for that. So it'll help analyze a BRRRR deal, because, you know, there's definitely people that have gotten into BRRRR deals, and then when they got to the point of refinance, they realized the numbers weren't really good enough to do it. So we're going to help analyze for those kind of deals as well.
Yeah, that ARV is key in that. It's so key to have a good general contractor that's going to give you some solid numbers for rehab and holding them to those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you can so one of the powerful things about, you know, talking through stuff in a call like this, when you can build relationships with those contractors and you're steady and you're there for them, and they know you're going to keep them busy and that you pay when you say you're going to pay and all that stuff, that's right. It's more rare. They're not having to chase you down. They're not having to threaten mechanics liens and stuff like that, you're helping them out, they're helping you out. But you can, you can get into a rhythm with that and start getting those kind of results that you're looking for there. All right. So let's go back to
So
this.
I want to ask Ashley a question. Because she's relatively new, and if you look at something like this, it might feel overwhelming, but I would encourage you to go in and play with this. I actually would have this on my iPad or my iPhone when I went out to look at properties so that I would have a real quick, look at, well, what would that number be? Use it as a tool to serve you instead of feeling like it's just something else out there, if that makes sense. So I was just curious if we got Ashley's question answered earlier, because is she out? Where is she? I'm probably way down. Are you out there still, Ashley? I know you've
Yes,
been
the
talking
question was answered. It was
okay.
answered.
Yeah, I tell you what, this tool has served me more often than not. Save me from buying a deal that wasn't a deal and helping to make a deal better, making my margins better.
That's right. And to that point, Julie, for Ashley too, it's, everything gets better with experience. The more reps you do, the better you get, the more comfortable, just like anything in life, the more repetition and experience you can get, it's better. Now, like with those offers, Ashley, the hardest part is probably the ARV and the rehab budget, right? So, because some of these that you can just plug in, right? Like lender fee and profit you want to make, it's pretty self-explanatory. Those two variables are the ARV and the rehab budget. And the more you walk properties, the more quotes you get from general contractors. When you go view a house, you can kind of ballpark that rehab pretty easily. And then just determine your ARV. Those are the two biggest variables, right? Those will get better with just repetition.
And Parker, if that's something that, because right, we're all here to grow. We're here to improve. We're here to get better. We're here to, accomplish some financial goals. If that's not your strongest point yet, and you're on this call, just know that that's one of the things about us being more than just a lender. We're here to help you look at deals like that. So I don't mean that you can, just anybody can, just send Parker like any and every deal out there. But if it's one you're really interested in and you've done your initial homework, he's happy to go over it with you, look at the details, and he's not biased on it. He can look at it and look at the numbers in the neighborhood around there. He can see what's sold. And he can help you see if you're on the right track with your ARV. So, that is a benefit that we offer with part of our we're here to be more than a lender deal. So if you're not comfortable with that yet, the other piece I would say about ARV is once you feel like you've got a good number that you can move ahead with on the deal, using the third-party company that we use to do the BPOs for these, they give a fantastic report back. And actually, that's one of the things I mentioned when we were kind of getting started. I said there's some things that we can do that can help you go back and sometimes get a better offer. Parker, I know you've got an example of somebody that they brought a deal in, they got the BPO, the report came back, and they were able to take that report and go back and negotiate a better purchase price. Because they had the data right there to do that.
Yep, that's right.
So,
That Marcus, hand up.
oh, yep, sorry. Yep, see you there, Marcus. Hey, man.
Hey, how y'all?
Welcome to the call.
All right, thank you. Two questions. How do can we get access to this? I might have missed that.
100%. No, I've got like I said, a little bit more fine tuning to do, and then we're going to publish it on the Inner Circle website.
Okay. Also, interest rates. I know Parker said this is the highest for you guys. Interest rates concerned. What is it based on experience?
It's so mostly it's based off of
Mike.
the loan amount.
Okay.
Yeah, the more, the higher that loan amount, we can come down on the interest rate some.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
That's all.
we don't ever try to compete fully on that. There are people out there that charge more. There's some national companies that charge less. You will not have a call like this with one of the national companies. You will not get help on your ARV with the national companies. You won't get national companies that help you kind of build out your resource team. So we're competitive, but we're competitive by helping you guys do repeat deals and, build out the team that you need to have.
Okay.
We're competitive on rate. We're just not the dirt cheapest.
All right, thank you.
I think you get what you pay for, Ray. So, I mean, I'm a proponent. I've used some of the national guys a little bit, and yeah, you guys have a lot of built-in value for sure, for what it's worth for me.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason. And we don't ever feel like we have to put other people down to elevate ourselves. So don't take that as I'm putting down other lenders. I'm just trying to highlight that we're different. I know a lot of lenders, and I've worked in the past kind of alongside some of those national lenders when we were selling loans a few years ago. So I know what they do as far as closings and rates and how hard it can be to get to the closing table sometimes. So we just, want to elevate our game to help you guys find deals, get them closed, and make sure that they are profitable. So something interesting to note, like I said, I've been changing some things around to really clean up this sheet, and I had messed up a formula prior to this call. So I fixed that, and I'm going to triple check this thing before I publish it. But when I made that adjustment a moment ago on the selling costs, it got these two numbers really close together. And in all the examples I've run, they're usually within a few $1,000s of each other. So before, when we had 91 and like in the low 80s, I knew something was off. But now, we've got it there where those two, the formula method, kind of the rule of thumb method, and the actual project costs are really close together.
Yeah, and to reiterate that point, Marcus, is once it's live on our Inner Circle webpage, I'll send an email out to everybody with that link to it so that you guys can get access.
Yes. Now, I want to come back to this sheet for a minute because some of the numbers on here are going to tie into a future tool that we'll be going over. It's so easy, again, to get into rehab mode and not really look at what you're spending and what you're making. So a future call that's coming up, we're going to introduce a tool to help you guys look at those numbers. So if in your mind, when I was going down through this sheet earlier, if you said, well, I'm not really sure how many months I held it, I'm not sure what the utilities and lawn care cost me, I don't know about, my selling cost. That future tool that we're going to roll out for you guys will help you have these numbers at hand so that when you finish up a deal, and we're all big proponents here of follow a process. So if it's not part of your process right now, that when you either sell or refinance a deal, you take 30 minutes and you go back and you plug in your actual numbers here to see how you did, that needs to be added to just, as part of your process for after closing the deal, you come back, you fill in the green cells, and you get your numbers here to see if you did good or not so good. And if you did good and you got a higher profit than you thought, jump over on the Facebook group for our Inner Circle and brag a little bit. You're going to inspire the other people in this group when you share a win. The other hand of that is there's going to be lessons learned within this group. So if you went overboard, so in this example, we had estimated $45,000 for repairs. it came in at 42,000. So it was a savings there of 3,000. If you went over by 5,000, share that as well in that group. And let's get some discussions going around what went wrong. If you saw that you missed out, on something because you didn't check in the crawl space, or whatever it may be, you weren't planning on electrical and you had to do that. Just come back into this group and share the things that went well. Yes, so we can celebrate with you, but share the things too that didn't go according to plan, so other people can learn, from those things that went off track and what you did to correct it. In this group, we're all about, learning and elevating each other. So maybe you don't know what went wrong. Maybe you put it out there and you're like, hey, I went over budget by 8,000. I'm not exactly sure what went wrong or how to fix that. Put it out there in the group, and one of the group members or one of us moderators can jump in there and help with that. But all of that makes the group that much more powerful when we're sharing results from actual projects, right? It's all theory until you take one from the front to the finish line. And then this important step that so many people skip over would be checking it out and seeing how it actually, went for you.
And this is actually super quick. I mean, we took it line by line by line by line by line, but once you start using this, that's like I said, for me, I always had it in the car or in my, my handheld device. And there's just some key numbers on that first page that if you key it in and you're there and you're at a competitive place with a wholesaler, you'll know what your sort of your ceiling is, and will give a much better offer. So see, there's just not that many there. You could plug those in and go, okay, cool. If I get this property at 85, man, I am like, woo, in the money. But I can't afford to go, up to 90, right? And like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, Julia. We will, all of these are fairly simple formulas. This one's in Excel. I think I could probably port it over to a Google sheet and keep the integrity of it. And because I just say that because I know Google Sheets are really easy to use on your phone. You can use the spreadsheet on your phone, like you said, while you're in the car, know if you got good numbers or not. You're not shooting from the hip.
Yep.
And you just give a really dialed in number. All right. Well, we are near the end of the time. Let me move over to our other screen and we will finish up.
I hope y'all are as excited about seeing this as we are about showing it to you. It really does make a really big difference in out there while you're cowboy shooting from the hip. No, we're going to make a real offer.
Strategic. Absolutely.
Strategic,
So
that's the word. Yeah.
Just a little forecast to where we're going. So today we were looking at the max offer generator so that you can strategically analyze each deal. Next month, we're going to kind of shift over to the back end of the deal. So what is your exit strategy going to be? And we're going to share with you a sheet that we call our 12 ways to structure profitable deals. So you'll be able to give yourself a couple of different solid exit strategies because you know how to structure things properly on the front end. So everybody knows how to go make a cash offer. But do you know other creative ways, if there's equity in the deal, that you could get the deal? And, in transparency, again, we're going to show you some ways on there that don't involve using us as a lender, because we don't have to lend on every one of your loans. We're here to make sure that you're going to hit your profit targets and hit your buy and hold targets. So we're not scared to say if a deal comes in and it looks like it's really teed up to be a great owner financing deal. I know I've told people, hey, I think this would be a better owner finance. I know Parker's told people that. So if we're the best fit to fund the deal for you, we're going to tell you what we can do to help. If we're not the best fit, we're going to tell you that too. If there's a better way to structure it that don't involve, getting private money to do the deal, we'll point you in that direction. So that's going to be exciting to see all those multiple ways. So here's our challenge that we want to leave you with. What's one action that you will commit to take before the next meeting? So we encourage you to go to that Facebook group, post it in there. What's the commitment you're going to make? At the beginning of this call, Parker talked about the accountability. He's doing it publicly on this call. We invite you guys to do it publicly over in the Facebook group. And then here's how to stay connected. The Inner Circle webpage, you've heard us talk about that. Parker sent that out before. We can make sure that we do a mass send out of that again so that you can go to that webpage. You see recordings from previous months. That's where you have access to these tools as well. We've got our Inner Circle Facebook group, and you can get access as well to that Facebook group through the webpage. And then our Facebook page itself, the REI Funding Partners. If you haven't done a like on that, we would encourage you to, because we do pretty often try to do shout outs, and we can't tag you on anything if you haven't liked the page. I was trying to do that on one earlier today, and it just the way Facebook works, we can't tag you on a post if you haven't liked the page. So we encourage you to do that so we can turn back around and give you guys a shout out. And then finally, to wrap up, just a reminder for next month, we're looking at Monday, May 8th, second Monday of the month again. We're going to be doing that 12 ways to structure deals for profitable exit strategies. And we'll introduce another tool there for you guys.
Yes, Ashley, we'll do that. I will
Right.
send that out to you.
I can't see everyone on my screen at the moment, but Danielle, I see you. And I know you've been at this for a minute. And I'd love to hear what do you think about that deal analyzer? Seeing that for the first time, do you think it's going to be something helpful that you can use?
Oh, can you hear me? I
Yes.
don't know if okay. Oh yeah, I think it will be a lot of help. It'll help me move a little bit faster. Usually right now I take advantage of my realtor.
froze.
She's a friend. Wait a minute, did I freeze? Am I here?
Yeah,
you're
Can
here.
you-
gotcha.
Okay, sorry. Right now I take advantage of my realtor. She's a friend, but she's also a nurse, so I can't always get her. And then I take advantage of my contractor for my deals. I take my contractor with me to every property so he can give me his numbers, and then I will literally call my realtor friend who's also a nurse at any time because she works nights. So I know she stays up late, and I will send her the address and be like, can you run the comp for me? And she will run the comp for me so I can get my ARV. And so it'll just help me move that much faster, just having that. So I'm not sitting there trying to just do it all by memory or trying to remember everything. It'll help me to move faster. So I think it'll be nice because yeah, I've run into some competition. Well, I've been running into a lot of competition here in Mobile when getting deals. So it would really help out a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, if you've got somebody feeding in that ARV pretty quickly for you in your rehab budget, you'll be able to drill it down to those numbers very fast. Awesome. All right. Anything else? I know we're at the top of the hour, but if there's another question or two, glad to help. All right. Let me stop this. I will turn off